Have you ever been scrolling through a social media website or a magazine catalog, or even just searching the web for something, and you couldn't find anything or anyone that you could relate to or who looked like you? When I was growing up, I used to be obsessed with any kind of doll you could think of. I had Barbies, Bratz, Monster High, American Girl doll, and the list can go on and on. Although I was so blessed to be able to acquire dozens of different dolls over the span of my childhood, there was still something missing. Out of over 50 or so dolls, which I counted, I could barely count on one hand the amount of dolls that I thought I could identify with physically. And out of that batch, there were only 2 or 3 that had a darker skin complexion that was similar to mine. Most of my dolls were white, had straight hair and light eyes, and even though I love them all equally, I feel like I would have had a higher self-esteem and appreciated my own physical features if I had dolls that represented me. A lot of kids and just people in general feel the same way. Many people who belong to marginalized groups have trouble with seeing where they fit in society because they are so underrepresented in the media. These feelings that are felt so frequently by me and plenty of people has led me to want to prove why representation is so important. So what you're looking at up here is a breakdown of 50 showrunners for new TV shows aired during the 2016-2017 season. Out of the showrunners, 90% of them were white and 78% of them were male. To the naked eye, this may not seem like a big deal because showrunners are the people behind the scenes, but these roles are very influential to the entertainment industry, and that they have the ability to not only determine creative direction of these programs, but they can oversee the hiring, the firing, and the mentoring that gives to the next generation of creators. In hindsight, shows run by white men tend to lead to more shows run by white men. A lack of inclusion behind the scenes also affects storytelling. A study from USC Annenberg's Institute for Diversity and Empowerment noted that actresses are more likely to receive speaking roles if women are creators, and actors and actresses of color tend to be cast by more speaking roles for creators who are also of color. These are the top 100 films in the US in 2014. Out of the 100 films, 73.1% of them had speaking or named characters with white actors playing their role. But only 12.5% were black actors, and even less with Asian and Hispanic. If you compare these percentages with the demographics of the US population, you can tell that people of color, especially Hispanics and Latinos, are widely underrepresented. In 2014, they made up about 17% of the United States population, but are practically erased from the industry with just 4.9% of speaking roles in movies. Similar conclusions can be drawn within the modeling industry, with their constant problems of body inclusivity, lack of racial diversity, and absence of transgender models, social media influencers, children's toys, and so on. Underrepresentation does not only affect people of different races, but also sexualities, gender identities, body types, disabilities, disorders, and mental illnesses. Although there are improvements being made to the amount of marginalized groups being represented in entertainment, it seems as though a lot of these groups portray the same stereotypes with each role they cast. This causes more or less an even bigger problem of misrepresentation, which is influential in shaping society's view of these groups, along with how these groups perceive themselves. More often than not, when a film does decide to include roles with Black and Latino women, gay men, or an Asian individual, the Black and Latino women are normally portrayed as loud and aggressive, like Sabrina from, I forgot what the show's called, but it's like a Medea movie. The gay man is portrayed as over the top, like in the movie GBF, and the Asian is like normally super smart, you know, all stereotypical. roles. This is why movies like Black Panther and Crazy Rich Asians are so important to these minority communities. I saw firsthand how these films empowered the Asian and Black races in ways that I had never seen before. Many groups are tired of being treated like they can't be the main character, or that they can't accomplish success the way that their cis white male counterparts are able to. Black Panther showed that Black people can be kings and queens and superheroes on their own. It inspired our children and gave them something to look up to. In Crazy Rich Asians, it led to Asian Americans being more proud of their heritage and where they came from. Okay, so an article done by PBS drew conclusions about the way teens belonging to underrepresented groups felt about when and how they are portrayed in media pop culture. They interviewed 144 middle and high school students. A junior from a high school in Pennsylvania said, "I do think it's powerful for people of minority race to be represented in pop culture to really show a message that everybody has a place in this world." Another student from Arizona stated that feeling represented is empowering. And if you see people who look like you and act like you and speak like you and come from the same place that you do, it serves as an inspiration. Lastly, if more accurate representation of minorities occurs in media consumption, the increase in diversity would cause other cultures to be exposed to the struggles of others. They're exposed to more ideas of others, of what others unlike them can be, and hopefully lead to a more tolerant and less judgmental world, not based on stereotypes, but on individual character. So racism, discrimination, and prejudice will go down, while empathy, compassion, and respect will go up because more people are exposed to other people that are not like them. Okay, so in conclusion, the media's serious diversity problem matters because how we tell stories collectively as a society and how we represent people not only reflect the dominant values of our society, but they also serve to reproduce them. This makes clear that sexism, racism, homophobia, etc. shape the dominant views of our society and are overwhelmingly present in the worldviews of those in charge of deciding which movies, TV shows, magazine covers, etc. get made and by whom. Erasing and silencing women, girls, people of color, queer people, and so on in the media only serves to bolster the worldviews of those who believe that this group of people who actually represent the majority of the world's population do not have the same rights and do not deserve the same amount of respect as do straight white men. This is a serious problem because it gets in the way of achieving equality in our everyday lives and in the greater structure of our society. If people would just take the time to speak out for one of our silenced individuals and push for more balanced representation in society, then the quality of life of everyone would be so much better. Thank you for coming to my talk.